Well, honestly, I did not know consciously what the central theme of the book was, even though I had asked my interviewees over and over and over again, how'd you make it through? And I had already entitled the book, actually, Making It Through, and the subtitle was pretty clear as well, Bosnian Survivors Telling Stories of Truth. I knew that much. But one day I was walking in the woods of West Tisbury, Massachusetts, on Martha's Vineyard, really pondering these stories. You know how you carry stories when you hear them, you just carry them and you wonder what they're all about. And I was walking, pondering, and asking myself the question, how did they make it through? That was the title of my book. That's what I asked them. And it was almost as if an answer came to me from beyond myself. What I saw in my mind was Odysseus lashed to the mast of his ship so that he could not respond to the lure of the sirens around him, so that he would not give in to a temptation beyond his capacity to endure without being tied to this mast. That image came into my head, and I paid attention to it, although I did not yet quite know what it meant. And then Mariana, one of my interviewees, came into my mind as well, really a picture of her too, and her almost literally lashing herself to the mast of integrity. She had mentioned the word integrity over and over again in her interview, and she was faced with impossible choices. For example, should she share the very minimal food she had for her baby daughter with her neighbor's baby daughter, or should she give her own daughter an ample supply of food? And you know what she did. Of course, she shared it. But these kinds of choices faced her constantly, and I realized, goodness, integrity, that was how she made it through. And then Salih, another one of my interviewees, came to mind. He was, at the time I interviewed him, a ballet dancer and a famous Arab troupe of dancers from Sarajevo, and he was also a social worker working with patients. And I literally saw him. These images came to me from their interviews. They were as if imprinted in my mind and my psyche by now. And I saw him racing down the stairs, 5 flights of stairs, in the apartment building where his office was, every time he heard a siren or a shot, actually, in the street below him, which happened to be Sniper Alley. You may have heard of Sniper Alley. It's a very famous street in Sarajevo. The snipers in the hills, mostly Serbs, were shooting at the innocent people every time they crossed that street. And Salih was located, as I said, right on that street. So when he heard a shot or he heard a siren, he would leave the patient who was in therapy with him, and he would race down those stairs, and he would go to the person who was lying in the street. He would give them CPR. If the ambulance wasn't there, he would use his cell phone to call the ambulance, and he would go with this person to the hospital to make sure they got proper care, and then he would come back and see either that patient or the next one without missing a beat. And I remember saying to Salih, my goodness, what courage that took. And Salih said, no, it's not courage, because I wasn't afraid. So then I asked him, well, then what did get you through? Because I was beginning to realize, even doing the interviews, that some quality within them got them through. And he said, I'm an optimist. I believe in people. I actually believe we're going to make it through this crisis in our world. I have a lot of faith in the young people. And so gradually the idea dawned on me that each one of these interviewees had what I came to call a center post. And that is the main theme of the book. It is how they made it through. They did, I'm using this as a metaphor, obviously, it was as if they lashed themselves to an inner mast to prevent themselves from going crazy with the chaos and destruction all around them. Now, this might sound like a solo act of courage, but it wasn't. It also connected them with everyone else. And gradually, over the years, I came to realize what an important metaphor this is for them, was for them, is for us, as we face increasingly tumultuous times in our world and our lives, how do we manage to stay out of the chaos, the destructiveness, the confusion, the not knowing what to think? I considered other metaphors, such as an inner rudder, for example, or inner compass. Those have been used before. It's like that, except I decided, actually, that the center post is a better, more appropriate metaphor for something as destructive as a genocide going on around people, because literally it's almost as if, or any of you may know yourselves, if you've been in a situation of such chaos, how hard it is to resist the energy in the air all around you, the vibrational level, the craziness. And every single one of my interviewees did do that. They did heroic, valorous actions. They were connected. That's another quality that I noticed in all of them. They stayed connected to their own souls. They stayed connected to others. In the beginning of my book, I have a short quote from E.M. Forster, "Only connect." And it began to seem clearer and clearer to me that the key, not the only key, of course, but an important key for all of us in these times, is to stay connected to our souls, to each other, and to the truth. And I use that word very advisedly. There's not just my truth and your truth. There are also universal principles of truth, and that is what this word is meant to convey in the title of my book.